Okay guys, I had a couple things shipped in over the week. So what I ordered was one of these, well, it's a YFZ ATV bolt kits. I went ahead and ordered one of those, so I'll have everything I need for that, for the Yamaha build. Also what I got was, I got one of these tanks. It's a radiator overflow tank. Mine was all cracked to hell, so I went ahead and ordered one of those. I got a torque wrench because the one I had was broken. Got a brand new air filter. Went ahead and ordered, I got the lowering kit. It came with those gaskets. I got the new bearings, new seals. The crank is currently sitting in the freezer because I'm getting ready to put this motor back together. I got a timing chain. I got a new ignition, which is in here. Because the ignition didn't have a key, went ahead and picked me up some of this gasket maker, this Moto Seal fuel resistant gasket maker, and some blue thread lock for the reassembly of the motor. Also got a new timing chain adjuster with the gasket. And under here is a brand new battery. So right now I'm really waiting for UPS to get here so he can bring me my top end. It should be coming in. I forgot to order up the bolts that go up top here where the guy that I got it off pulled them out, never put them back in. That's why the top was just sitting there. So I gotta wait for those to come in. But in the meantime, I got a motor sitting here in three pieces. And I'm gonna go ahead and start getting this case back together so I can start getting this motor all ready. I also did order up some oil, new oil filter, and a new NGK spark plug for this build. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, to start this off, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these crank bearings, hopefully. What I got on here is a T30 star bit. Okay, I'm just taking one of these little extensions, trying to make it come out evenly. There she goes. I just need to pop this one out over here. Okay guys, so I went ahead and put that bearing in. I found that normally I think what you'd want to do is probably put these in the freezer so they'd shrink a little bit, then you can pop them in, but don't have time for that. So I'm just pretty much using it the same way I put it in or took it out. Just beat on it, make sure you go all the way around with it, make sure it's nice and even as it goes in. Worked for this one, hopefully it'll work for this one. I don't know if this is the right way or the wrong way, but it worked. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, it's all the way in. You'll tell when it gets all the way in, it'll feel real solid when you hit it. That's when you stop. Just make sure you don't hit this center part of the bearing. I hit the whole outside. Now I'm just going to drive these in loosely with this, and then I'll go ahead and put a wrench on them. You don't want to strip them out. Or put them on there too tight so you can't get them back off. So Okay guys, I went ahead and pulled my crank out of the freezer. It's been sitting in there. You don't have to freeze it, but I froze mine. And now what I'm doing is take my torch, heat up this bearing right here. Make sure you don't stay in one area too long. Just do a circle around it, get it all heated up. Okay, after you get that done, should be able to slide it right on. Now you want this side in first. And there she is. Okay guys, I got my two surfaces here. I went ahead and cleaned these all off, make sure they're nice and clean. And then what you'll want to do is take, don't forget to put this back in. It's a, pretty much your slide-in dowel with a rubber gasket on it. So slide that back into that place right there. What you'll want to do slap a little bit of grease on there just so that it doesn't come back out while you're doing the assembly. Should help it stay where it is. Now that I got all that done, I'm going to take my Moto Seal gasket maker. Yamaha recommends Bond, but this will work the same. It's a fuel resistant type. Now what you'll want to do is just take it with your finger and rub it along the surface. All the way around. I do it all the way around the holes. Also want to make sure the sign you have pieces in. That one I have here. I don't make it together. You want to make sure those are on there. I want to make sure to be somewhat quick so it doesn't dry. Pretty quick-ish. Okay guys, now that we got that completely gasket makered up, I'm going to go ahead and heat up this seal. Just like I did the other one. Alright, and now I'll just pick it up and slide it over. Use your hammer to give it a little push. there she is, guys. Alright guys, now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and start putting my bolts back. And the way you can tell which bolt goes into which is you'll have about that much sticking out of the hole. So you just kind of go and try them on each hole until you get one to be about that size. Let's see. And that should be all of them. Now let's go ahead and crank all those down. Okay, guys, from here you want to put the shift shaft in. This piece here. Don't forget to put this back on. We took it off earlier. Slides right here. Slide this shift shaft in. It's going just like that. Here you want to make sure that your crank is running freely. Mine feels pretty good. What you want to do is put the shift shaft in, of course, put the shifter on backwards so you can just test the transmission. So right now, you'll hold both of these. I'm in neutral. So then, with it being backwards, there's first, second, third, fourth. There you go. And then there's neutral. So you hold it, don't go anywhere. So now we know the transmission works. Now we know the crank's nice and clear. We'll go ahead and set that aside and we'll move on to the next step. Okay guys, now we're gonna go ahead and put the counterbalancer in. You'll see the flyhead side up here. That's the one that goes in through the back to the front here. Doesn't go in right away, just kind of turn it and it'll slide in. Alright guys, now what we'll do is when you look down into this, you'll see up here there's kind of a low spot in one of these little sprocket parts on the inside. And on your shaft, it'll be the same thing. It'll be right up top here. That low spot's about right where that dot is. So you want to slide it in. It's the only way it will slide in is if you match those dots up. So put that in. Then you want to put your washer on, your lock washer back into place there. And that'll go there. Same thing with this one. As you look where that dot is right there, there is a low point right there. And it'll be the same thing with your shaft. See that low spot right there? Low spot right there where that dot is. Slide it right in. So then what you'll want to do is you got two dots. One right here and one right here. And you'll want to make sure that those two match up. See the two dots right there? Dot there, dot there. Make sure they're straight across from each other. So then that'll go ahead and set everything correctly. Then what you'll do is take this one and make sure you have the, see how this has the flat side? This side has a little bit of protrusion out. That'll slide in that way. Like so. Go ahead and put your washer on. And bolt your bolt on. Your nut on. I always call nuts bolts for some reason. Okay. Now refer back to your manual, find the torque specs, and you'll torque both of these down. Now once you get them torqued down, you'll want to bend your tabs back down again. Alright guys, everything looks good. Let's move on to the next one. Guys, now you'll want to go ahead and put this back in. This will go all the way through to where your clutch area is. So just push it. Got a bolt here. I put a little Loctite on there. Okay, go ahead and tighten that down and we'll go ahead and start putting the clutch back together. Alright guys, you can start off by putting this back on. Then you had your washer. Goes in between there. Now you want to put your clutch basket and clean it up a little bit. Slide that in. Now you'll want to go ahead and slide this guy in. Now what you'll want to do is just take your bolt, push it into place, and then up on top, spin where your clutch lever is. I think mine went loose. Okay, so once you got that rod in there, you stick one of your bolts in there, pull it, so that pushes it in and out. That's how you know it's set in the right place. So you'll follow that up with your little ball bearing. Make sure that's in there. We'll send this up like this. And we'll start putting the disc back on. Okay, now I'll go ahead and put this back in the way I took it out. So we'll start sliding these discs back on. Now you'll want to make sure when you're sliding these inner discs in, there's a soft side and then there's a hard side, like an edgy side. You want to have your soft side down. So if you ever pull one of these out and it has the rough side down, you might want to swap that over. Probably wouldn't have hurt to put a new clutch in this thing, but Don't have one ordered right now, and that's something I could just slap in at any time pretty easily, so we'll do that at a later date. Try this clutch out and see how it works first. Okay, and follow that up with this guy. Now I'll go ahead and get my springs. Alright guys, and from here, before you put this on, you want to head and put this bolt back on with the retaining washer. Should have some torque specs on this, and make sure you look those up. Tighten this down and we'll bend the clips back up, and then we'll move on. From here, you'll want to go ahead and put this back on. You want to make sure it's making full contact with the discs here. If not, then turn it a little bit. So go ahead and put our springs back in. We'll go ahead and tighten these down. You don't have to crank the heck out of these ones because the spring actually pushes tension against it. So I'm just going to use my impact and barely put them on so it's nice and snug. And then we'll go ahead and move on from there. From here, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I put all my pins in, these collector pins here. Got one on both sides here. I want to make sure this one goes back into place. It's got a washer on it. Looks like this. That side's back in there. And now, I'm going to go ahead and slap the gasket on there. Now, once I'm here, guys, I might as well pop off and change this oil filter. Alright guys, we'll slide that in there. Put that back into place. Throw on my bolts. Tighten them down and we should be able to put this back on. Should be ready to go ahead and put this back on now. I just want to make sure this side's pointed up this way and that the shaft's kind of pointed the same way so it'll slide in easier. And there it is. Okay, now just make sure when you put your bolts on, sounds like UPS is back. They drive by my house to deliver my package, go to my neighbor's, take off down the road, turn around and come back, they're supposed to have my top end if they'd ever show up. So hopefully that's them bringing it back. Go ahead and put these bolts back in. Once again, you'll still want like that much sticking out. That's how you'll know which one's the right one. Now let's go ahead and take my 8mm and torque all these down. Get that other side all batched up. We'll go ahead and put our timing chain in. So we swapped over the other side of the motor. Put it on like that. Got these 2 bolts here. You want to go ahead and put a little Loctite on them, just in case. I kind of kicked that sideways a little bit to get it in there. Okay, go ahead and put your 2 bolts in. All right, that's all squared away. Now we'll go ahead and move over to slapping these. Or you want to put this one on first. Okay, and we got our woodruff key. You want to slide that in. As you look down this, I got this all cleaned out. Once you look down this, you'll go ahead and slide that down over that. Okay guys, what I did was, that was a pain in the butt. You kind of start putting it on and then grab your wheel back here and spin it a little bit. Your starter wheel, and it'll go ahead and slide in. Yeah, I got it. Okay, put a little more Loctite on this one. Your washer, your bolt, your nut. Go ahead and torque that down. Now you'll want to take this and you're going to want to slide it in. See this groove right here? You want that towards it. Slide it in, hook it up with that rear gear. Just like that. Take these little pins. Go ahead and stick them in their holes. Now, need a gasket. Put the gasket on there. Okay. And go ahead and put your cover back on. All right. I just want to go ahead and put your bolts back in. I was supposed to have 2 of these, but I think the previous owner lost one. So I guess we're just going to run one. Again, just make sure you're not punching through your holes. A real long one that goes over to this side. Just 2 little guys that are left over are going to be the ones that are going to put this on here, your starter. So go ahead and put those on real quick, zip them down. Forgot to show you these 2 right here. They'll actually go in these holes. So we'll go ahead and tighten those down. Alright, go ahead and slide this in. Put the cover on it. I'm going to go ahead and put the bolts in and tighten those down. Alright, now just go ahead and throw a sprocket on there. The right way. You know it's the right way because you'll be able to put that freaking washer on there that attaches to it. Okay, go ahead and torque that down. Time to start on this top end. So I got the head looking pretty nice. Here's the piston. I went ahead and put one of the rings in on the side to hold the centerpiece in. Set that on that side. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the rings in. So start with the oil ring. Just slide all the way down to the bottom there. That one. I'm going to go ahead and put one on the bottom of it. Those are the smaller rings. You'll have a difference. Bigger rings and then the smaller rings. I'll put another one of these on top of it. And what I mean by top of it is on the same exact sleeve that it's in, just on the top of the gold ring, like so. So then I want to make sure these are gapped differently. Hey guys, so got the top ring lined up this way, bottom ring is lined up this way, and then the center ring's over on this side. Then I'll go ahead and throw on these other two rings. Okay guys, got my rings on. I'll go ahead and adjust it once I get it on the motor. What I'm going to do is take some assembly lube, put on my finger here, and then coat the inside of this. Okay, that slid all the way in. Go ahead and put my pin on. And that's in. I'm going to go ahead and take the timing chain through here. That through. I'll go ahead and pinch her. Got the piston rings in. Now I'm just going to tighten up this little cylinder head bolt. Just snug it. I verified everything's going good here. I'm going to try to put it at top dead center as much as I can. Take the chain guide. Oops. Should slide right down in there. Alright guys, now that I got the cams adjusted, I only had one of them in here that was off. So I put the new shim in, and now I'm ready to put the top end on. So we got our prep, got my gasket on. Yeah, she's firmly in place. I'm going to go ahead and put these bolts on. And what you'll notice is you got two shorter ones. Longer ones are gonna go on this side of the motor. And then your shorter guys will go on this side of the motor. We'll go ahead and crank those down and set torque specs on those. Put these two nuts on as well. Feed into the bottom of these bolts on the head. Now that I got those all torqued down, what you'll want to do is set to top dead center. So if you look inside here, what you'll have is basically 3 lines that go up and down. There's 2 that have a line in the middle of them. That's not the one you want. You want the one to the right of that that's all by itself. So you'll turn it until it hits it. I don't know if you can see it in there, but you'll want to line that up with the dot on the top there, the line on the top of the crank, right up in here. Okay guys, now we'll go ahead and put the cams in. So what you'll notice is there's a dot here and a dot here. So this is the exhaust side. You'll want to go ahead and line this dot right here, the lower one. You have the top one and the lower one. Line that dot up so that it's flush with this line right here. So take your timing chain and go ahead and put it on there. Let me get my damn wire out of the way. So it'll be just like that. Now we'll go ahead and put the intake side on. Same thing. You got 2 dots, so you'll want to line it just like this. But tricky part's trying to put the chain on at the same time. Not quite there. So there you go. See how you got your line there lined up with that line, and that line there lined up with that line. There and there. Okay, now you'll want to go ahead and put your caps back on. Make sure you get the little shim out. So a little clamp dilly bobber. You got one. Now you want to make sure you're careful with these, putting these bolts in. You don't want to strip these out. I actually had to helicoil one of these, this one back here, because somebody else stripped it out. So when I pulled it out, it was stripped, so I had to throw a helicoil in there. It wasn't too big of a job, so just go ahead and put your bolts in. Now what you'll want to do after this is just go ahead and run all these down to spec. I got a new timing chain tensioner, and what you'll want to do is you'll take your little tool that comes with it. I'm sure you probably lost it by now, but this is a brand new one because I didn't have one on here. So you'll want to keep turning this. I'll grab a hold of it. Wind it all the way in until it goes all the way flush, just like that, and then push your key in. Boom, just like that. And then we'll go ahead and mount it up. Gotta get my gasket out here. I got gaskets all over now. Got a whole collection. It seems like everything I ordered had gaskets with it, so I'm hoping these bolts fit because these are the ones I ordered. Online, so I'll go ahead and bolt her up. And then as soon as it's all bolted up, then you go ahead and just pull that key. It'll go ahead and slide out and adjust itself, and then you just put your bolt back on it. Okay guys, now what I'll want to do is just spin the motor. Make sure everything's going to be in place and everything's working right. Alright, then I'll go ahead and line up the timing again to see if we're still on. Right in there. Okay. I don't know if you can see it, but the line's lined up there. You look up top here, you got the dot right there and the dot right there. So everything feels good. And I got a brand new spark plug. Ran an NGK this time. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in. All right, guys, we're getting there. So now I'll just take my valve cover, put the gasket back on, put some Yamaha Bond or the same stuff I was using in each one of these little cracks here, and then just go ahead and put her back into place. I'll go ahead and wait for that to dry a little before I okay. Now we'll go ahead and take our bolts that I had to order because somebody took the bolts off of it and left the head open, or the valve cover off, so that all the dirt and shit can get into the head. Don't do that, and don't lose these bolts because I paid 20 bucks for these damn things, which is very unavoidable when, if you don't know what you're doing. Don't open the head. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these back on, and we'll keep moving. Okay guys, I went ahead and slid my starter back in here. So I'll go ahead and tighten the bolts on it. I'm just going to do a couple of the outside things. So now I can go ahead and slap it back in. Had a little problem with my order today. Ordered these for the side of the case over there, and got one that's too big, so dadgum eBay. This one will work, but I guess they're for a newer 450, so I had to go ahead and order another one, so I can't really exactly fire this thing up without that. So I guess we're gonna wait. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on. It'll just mount back up in this location. Somewhere. It's goes there somewhere. Like this. Aha! And I got the bolts for it. Don't forget the copper washers. Should put a washer on one side. Then the bolt goes through it. with, of course, the copper washer on the other side. Right here. And I got two smaller ones that'll go up here. And of course these ones here. And we'll go ahead and tighten that down. It's all buttoned up. Now all it's got to do is go back into the machine and we can go ahead and give her a fire up and see if she's going to start. So we'll start working on it. I'm waiting on a couple more parts. So, well, it's going to be a few days for me. It'll be like a couple seconds for you. So see you then.